everybody, a student came to me and asked about compositing some fire onto a city for a environmental project she was working on, and I wanted to share this little quick tip with you. First up, I have pexels.com, P-E-X-E-L-S.com open, and I looked for fire, so I got some images of fire here, and then over here I have a picture of a city that I'm going to use for this piece. Now I've taken all of these pieces and I went ahead and opened them up in Photoshop. Here's the city, here's one piece of fire, here is another piece of fire, and we're going to put these all together to make it look like our city's on fire. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go to this file first, and I have the layers panel open. If you don't happen to see this layers panel, you can go to Windows and then Layers, and you should be able to take this layer and drag it right into this other image. Okay, so now I have this fire file here on it, and I'm just going to sort of drag it so it looks like it's on some of the buildings, maybe over here. All right, and then what I want to do with this is I'm going to go up to the top of the screen. I'm going to select Image, Apply Image, and then right now it is choosing that the layer is the background. It might start off saying merged. If it does, change it to background. And then we're going to change the blending mode here. So right now it's darken. For something like this, we're probably going to need like lighten. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to say lighten and then say OK. And then I want to go to my other fire image. I'm going to do the same thing in my layers panel. I'm just going to click and drag that right into my city here. And I'm going to bring this over here for my other set of buildings, kind of off to the side. And if I want to see kind of what it would look like, I'm having a hard time imagining it. Here in the layers panel, I can turn my opacity down a little bit so I can sort of see roughly what it would look like. And that looks pretty good right there. Now I'm going to turn that opacity back up. I'm going to do the same thing I did before. Image, Apply Image. And this time, this is going to background again, so it's only showing it for the background. What I want it to do is instead of background, I want to select layer 1. And so now we see both parts of the fire. Then I'm going to say, OK. Now, with this, it's a little weird. You probably wouldn't see the street on fire like this. It looks a little fake. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a mask. This is a super easy thing to do in Photoshop. Over here on that same layers panel, there's a block I say it looks like Swiss cheese, and this is where you can add a mask. And this brings up this white block here. And what happens with a mask, whatever is colored white shows, whatever is colored black is hidden. So if I go over here to a brush with a black brush, I can start drawing away this fire. And this works a little bit different than an eraser because it's a situation where I can come back if I make a mistake. I can come back in and go in with a white brush and repair it. So if I'm going up, oh look, I went a little too high right there. And I want to repair that. So I just change to my white brush, and then I can bring that fire back right there on top of that van. All right, not perfect, but good enough for a demo. But the big problem we have now is that the overall color of our piece is a little kind of blue, and that doesn't make sense with a big fire going on. So we're going to do one more thing over here in the layers panel, and that's called an adjustment layer. And that looks like this little bouncy ball down here. So if I select the bouncy ball, and then in this bouncy ball, I want to choose levels. And this gives me some sliders. The first sliders are for red, green, and blue overall. So this is kind of like the brightness of my piece. And what I want to do is I actually want to make this more red and green to bring out kind of the fire colors. So I'm going to go to red. And in here we have shadow, midtone, and highlight, and I'm going to adjust that midtone. See how that red's coming up? I'm going to do the same in green, but I'm also going to bring the shadow down a little bit so it doesn't get too green. I'm just trying to get some of those yellow hues in there. And this is a little bit blue, so now I go to blue and I can turn down the blue, and we can see now it's starting to look a little bit more fiery in this picture. And if you want to see the difference in this, watch this. This little eyeball here lets us turn it on and off. And if I turn it off, you can see how much hotter that image looks just from doing those little tweaks like that. So this is what you would do, and you could do this with anything. It could be a city, it could be a person. If you wanted to make a person look like they're on fire, you can use these same techniques. Now, with the photos, if you can find those photos with dark black backgrounds like that, it's going to make it a lot easier than using a photo with a more complex background, because then you'll have to do some more of this masking and things. Now with this, this is now a Photoshop file because it has multiple layers. So if you go to File, Save, it will save it as a PSD. And that's a great thing to have for editing, but if you need to hand this in for a project, or if you need to use this on a Spark page or whatever, what you're going to want to do is go to File and then Export. And there's two different ways. You can export as a PNG, but personally I like using the Save for Web option right here, because what you can do, if I click on this, it will bring up this dialog box. And notice my picture's pretty big. I was using these high resolution images. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this as a JPEG. And then down here I have the option to change my image size. So if you know you need a specific image size for your Spark page, you could go down here and say, okay, I want it to be 1200 pixels. And it will automatically size it for you. You don't have to do it. And then you can see what that will look like for real. So really, really handy way of saving your file.